the result of the sin of attachment to saving. So long as I can shoulder the sufferings of sentient beings, I will never become discouraged or forsake this eternal vow. Furthermore, in practicing Zen I will not idle away my time thinking of life and death or waste even a minute in trifling good works. Nor will I blind others to the truth by trying to minister to them so long as my own spiritual strength is insufficient to lead them to self-realization. These resolutions became part and parcel of my thinking, bothering me to some extent in my zazen. But I could not do otherwise. I constantly prayed to Buddhas for strength to carry out these resolutions, which I made the standard of my conduct in both favorable and unfavorable circumstances, under the watchful but friendly eyes of heavenly beings. Thus it has been up to the present. It is really pointless to tell you about these delusive states of mine, but as you make bold to ask, I write here of my aspirations as a novice. To the nun Furusawa, you have written me that the object of Zen practice, you believe, is the manifestation of mind in itself. But how does it manifest itself? What can be seen with the eyes or be known by reason cannot be called mind in itself. You must begin your zazen by looking into your own mind. As your thoughts diminish you will become aware of them, but it is a mistake to struggle to stop them from arising. Neither loathe nor cherish your thoughts, only realize the source from which they stem. By constantly questioning whence thoughts arise, the time will come when your mind, unable to answer, will be free of even a ripple of thought. Yet even now you will find no answer. But still ask, what is this mind? To the very rock bottom, and the questioning mind will suddenly vanish and your body feel as though it were without substance, like the empty space of the 10 quarters. This is the first stage to which Zen beginners attain, and they are encouraged to some extent. But if they mistake this for the manifestation of mind in itself, they are like one who takes fish eyes for pearls. Those who persist in such error become haughty, malign Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and ignore the law of causation. So they have to struggle with evil spirits in this life and tread thorny paths in the next. But with favorable karmic relations they will eventually attain enlightenment. Those, however, who cannot perceive the truth of all this, who do not believe their own mind is Buddha and who look for Buddha, or truth, outside this mind, are infinitely worse off than non-Buddhists who attach themselves to the phenomenal world. As I have already written you, when some insight comes to you, go to a competent Zen master and openly demonstrate what you have perceived, exactly as it came to you. If it is faulty and needs to be dissolved, let it be done like boiling water destroying ice. At last, like a bright moon shining in an empty sky through clouds that have broken open, your face before your parents' birth will be revealed, and for the first time you will understand what is meant by the saw dances, the sandai. Sandai is a kind of dance. Just consider. A saw dances the sandai. What does this mean? Tackle it resolutely but without reasoning, for it has no meaning in the usual sense. You will be able to comprehend it only upon self-realization. You next mentioned that you are going to fast. Fasting is a non-Buddhist practice. Don't do it. Renunciation of your wrong views which discriminate gain from loss, good from bad. This is true fasting. Relinquishment of delusion in the wholehearted practice of Zen. This is self-purification. To desire abnormal experiences is as misguided as wanting to appear different from ordinary people. You have but to keep your mind steadfast yet flexible, concerning yourself with neither good nor evil in others and not obstructing them. If you remind yourself that this world is but a dream in which there is no grief to avoid and no joy to look for, your mind will become visibly serene. Not only this, but your illnesses will disappear as your delusive feelings and perceptions fall away. You must even discard whatever you realize through enlightenment. What is more, you must not attach yourself to or be repelled by visions of any kind, for they are all illusional. Don't involve yourself in such fantasies but only inquire. What is the master who sees all this? I have fully answered the questions you have raised. Should you not realize your true self in this lifetime, even though you practice Zen exactly as I now advise you, you will unquestionably meet a perfectly enlightened Zen master in your next life and attain self-realization 1,000 times over through one sound of truth. I dislike writing you in such detail, but since you have written me from a sickbed to which you have long been confined, this is the only way I can answer, so you will readily understand. First letter to the Zen priest Iguchi. I have read your presentation at length, but it misses the point of the koan. The sixth patriarch said, "The flag doesn't move, the wind doesn't move, only your mind moves." To realize this clearly is to perceive that the universe and yourself are of the same root, that you and every single thing are a unity. The gurgle of the stream and the sigh of the wind are the voices of the Master. The green of the pine, the white of snow, these are the colors of the Master, the very one who lifts the hands, moves the legs, sees, hears. One who grasps this directly without recourse to reason or intellection can be said to have some degree of inner realization. But this is not yet full enlightenment. An ancient Zen master, Rinzai, said, "You should not cling to the idea that you are pure essence." And again, "Your physical body, composed of the four basic elements, can't hear or understand this preaching. The empty space can't understand this preaching. Then what is it that hears and understands? Meditate fully and directly on these words. Take hold of this koan as though wielding the jewel sword of the Vajra king. Cut down whatever appears in the mind. When the thoughts of mundane matters arise, cut them off. When notions of Buddhism arise, likewise lop them off. In short, destroy all ideas, whether of realization, of Buddhas, or of devils, and all day long pursue the question, what is it that hears this preaching? When you have eradicated every conception until only emptiness remains, and then cut through even the emptiness, your mind will burst open and that which hears will manifest itself. Persevere, persevere. Never quit halfway. Until you reach the point where you feel as though you have risen from the dead. Only then will you be able to wholly resolve the momentous question, what is it that hears this preaching? I am afraid it may be inconvenient for you to write me often, so I am writing you this detailed letter. After you have read it, drop it into the fire. Second letter to the Zen priest Iguchi. I have read your letter carefully. Having long admired you for your determination to come to self-realization, I was highly gratified to learn that you have not forgotten the great question. Your answer has been noted in all respects. Here I want to tell you to make this your koan. What is the substance of my fundamental nature? In your search for the master that hears and speaks, though thousands of thoughts arise, don't entertain them but only ask, what is it? Every thought and all self-awareness will then disappear, followed by a state not unlike a cloudless sky. Now, mind itself has no form. What is it, then, that hears and works and moves about? Delve into yourself deeper and deeper until you are no longer aware of a single object. Then beyond a shadow of a doubt you will perceive your true nature, like a man awakening from a dream. Assuredly at that moment flowers will bloom on withered trees and fire flame up from ice. All of Buddhism, all worldly concerns, all notions of good and evil, will have disappeared, like last night's dream, and your fundamental Buddha nature alone will manifest itself. Having come to such inner understanding, you must not then cherish the notion that this mind is fundamentally Buddha nature. If you do, you will be creating for yourself another thought form. Only because I regard your desire for self-realization so highly do I write in such detail. Thank you for sending the 500 packets of caked rice and the pound of tea. Third letter to the Zen priest Iguchi. I have read your letter with particular care. I am much pleased to hear about your Zen practice. But if I answer you at any length, you are bound to make your own interpretations of what I write, and that will become somewhat of a hindrance to your self-realization. Try to perceive directly the subject that is presently inquiring. Buddhas and Dharma ancestors say that this subject is inherently Buddha mind. Yet this mind is without substance. In your physical body, what can you call mind or Buddha? Now intensely ask yourself, what is this which can't be named or intellectually known? If you profoundly question, what is it that lifts the hands, moves the legs, speaks, hears? Your reasoning will come to a halt, every avenue blocked, and you won't know which way to turn. But relentlessly continue your inquiry as to this subject. Abandon intellection and relinquish your hold on everything. When with your whole heart you long for liberation for its own sake, beyond every doubt you will become enlightened. With the passage of time one's thoughts are stilled and one experiences a void like that of a cloudless sky. You must not, however, confuse this with enlightenment. Putting aside logic and reason, question yourself even more intensely in this wise. Mind is formless, and so right now am I. What, then, is hearing? Only after your search has permeated every pore and fiber of your being will the empty space suddenly break asunder and your face before your parents were born appear. You will feel like one who abruptly awakens from a dream. At such time go to a reputable Zen master and ask for his critical examination. While you may not come to self-realization in this life, you will surely become enlightened in your next. Zen masters have taught, if on your deathbed your mind is barren of every thought and you only ask, what is this mind? Dying unconcerned, like fire expiring. I have written as you have asked me to, but reluctantly. Once you have read this letter, burn it. Don't reread it, but only search deeply for the one hearing. My words will seem like so much nonsense when you experience enlightenment yourself. Fourth letter to the Zen priest Iguchi. I am glad to learn how ardently you are practicing Zazen. What you have reported to me is a little like a Zen experience, but it is essentially what you have understood with your intellect. The great question cannot be resolved by the discursive mind. Even what becomes clear through realization is delusion of a kind. In a previous letter, I wrote you that only when you have come back from the dead, so to speak, will that which hears manifest itself. Your persistent inquiry, what is it that hears? Will eventually lead you to awareness of nothing but the questioning itself. You must not, however, be misled into thinking this is the subject which hears. You say that in working on this koan you feel as though you have taken hold of a sword and cut away every idea in your mind, including the impression of emptiness, and that questioning alone remains. But what is doing all this? Delve to your most inmost being and you will discover it is precisely that which hears. Even though you experience your self-nature again and again, and understand Buddhism well enough to discourse upon it, your delusive thoughts will survive, inevitably precipitating you into the three evil paths in your next life, unless their root is severed through perfect enlightenment. If, on the other hand, still unsatisfied, you persevere in your self-inquiry even to your deathbed, you will unquestionably come to full enlightenment in your next existence. Don't allow yourself to become discouraged and don't fritter away your time, just concentrate with all your heart on your koan. Now, your physical being doesn't hear, nor does the void. Then what does? Strive to find out. Put aside your rational intellect, give up all techniques. To induce enlightenment. Abandon the desire for self-realization, and renounce every other motivation. Your mind will then come to a standstill, and you won't know what to do. No longer possessing the desire to attain enlightenment or to use your powers of reason, you will feel like a tree or a stone. But go further yet and question yourself exhaustively for days on end, and you will surely attain deep enlightenment, cutting away the undermost roots of birth and death and coming to the realm of the non-self-conscious mind. The undermost roots of birth and death are the delusive thoughts and feelings arising from the self-conscious mind, the mind of ego. A Zen master, Rinzai, once said, "There is nothing in particular to realize. Only get rid of the idea of a Buddha and sentient beings. The essential thing for enlightenment is to empty the mind of the notion of self." To write in such detail is unwise, but as you have written me so often I feel obliged to reply in this way. To a nun. I have read your letter carefully. It is gratifying to see how eagerly you are practicing Zen, putting it before everything else. You say you once thought you ought to have gone west to the capital, but that you now see it was a mistaken idea, that the capital is